Hello, my name is Itlalia Roscoe. I decided to do my project on the film named Roma in order to highlight and show all of the different symbolism within the film and to highlight all of the different hardships that indigenous people in Mexico had to go through during the 1970s. So, to begin with a little bit of the background of the film, it takes place in Mexico during 1970. The title is derived from its location. It takes place in a bourgeoisie district in Mexico named Roma. A unique aspect about the film is that it is based on the real life experiences of director Alfonso Cuarón. So, growing up, Cuarón noticed all of the different treatment that his nanny went through. So, his nanny, her name was Liboria Rodriguez, and he made this film as a loving ode to his nanny, and throughout the film he incorporates things such as or issues regarding social class, family abandonment, political conditions, and he does all of this through the nanny's point of view. A little information about the lead character. Cleo is a Mixtec woman from Oaxaca. She moves to the city in order to work for a middle-class family. An important thing about her is that she's a fictionalized version of Cuarón's nanny, Liboria. So Cleo works alongside Adela in a privileged household that is owned by Sofia and her doctor husband. Cleo's duties within this film include cooking, cleaning, and tending for the children. And although she builds a very strong bond to the family, there still exists a boundary because of social class that puts her in a separate world from her employers. And this can be seen because Cleo has to perform all of her duties on the rooftops, and the adults only acknowledge her whenever a need arises. So to begin with, the very first issue that comes up, and it is obvious, is the social class issue. Cleo belongs to a lower working class in the society, and because of that her employers often mistreat her and target her. So for example, whenever a scene is shown that the doctor was leaving and the doctor was complaining about the dogs pooping on the ground. So after he leaves, Sofia immediately blames Cleo that she didn't pick it up, that it was her fault, that the doctor got mad. And on top of that, the family also blames Cleo whenever Paco, the son, overhears a conversation with the mother talking about the abandonment of his father. So Cleo is also blamed because she didn't stop the child. So because of this, as you can see, the different these are different social classes, and because Cleo also works for them, she is easily targeted and she is easily blamed for throughout the film because of this aspect. Family abandonment is another issue that is highlighted within this film. It begins when Fermin, Cleo's boyfriend, abandons her and her baby. So Cleo is pregnant and Fermin just leaves all the responsibility altogether, and he doesn't want to know anything about her ever again. And then later on in the film as well, the doctor abandons his family because of his damaging marriage with Sofia. The marriage is no longer functional, and so he just decides to leave. And then this puts both of the women in a very vulnerable and helpless position because they believe that they need the men in order to continue on in life. However, this quickly changes, and female endurance is shown and symbolized whenever they take a vacation to the beach. So Sofia takes Cleo to the beach along with her children, and in this vacation they face their fears. Sofia tells her children that the father will no longer be returning, and Cleo as well admits that she did not want her baby to be born. And upon returning from this trip, you can see new symbolism of new aspirations and new life awaiting for the women. The final shot is of this blue sky, which represents hope in new opportunity. So because of this, the audience can expect that there will be new forms of new hope and new life and aspirations for this family. So another issue that is highlighted in the film is a political issue regarding the Corpus Christi massacre of 1971, and this can be seen when Cleo and her boss are out looking for a baby cradle when suddenly Mexican soldiers begin to kill student demonstrators, and this perfectly emphasizes the gruesomeness of the massacre. People were just carelessly killing other innocent victims, and Basically, the Corpus Christi massacre involved a lot of violence, as you can see. During this time, the Dirty War was taking place under the president and ministry's orders. So this war involved the crash conflicts of the growing urban middle class that demanded democratization and the left-wing student movement that featured guerrilla groups. So the student movement was just out looking for, their rights as students. And however, the government did not support it, and there was a lot of violence and stuff like that. And this event is highlighted in the film in order to highlight gruesome events like this so that they can be prevented in the future, and in order to be stopped in the future, so that people can see that, hey, this has been happening before. What are ways that we can stop it? I personally believe that the social class issue was definitely something that allowed viewers like myself to learn about the hardships that indigenous people face. For example, I think it was really sad how the children saw Cleo as a family member. They went to sleep telling Cleo stuff like "I love you," singing along with her, and yet she was still classified as different because of her social class position. This can be seen, for example, whenever the family is watching a film in front of the TV, and then Cleo joins them. And however, later on, Sophia ruins the moment by telling Cleo to go fetch coffee for the doctor. Although she does not directly say it, Sophia kind of, by telling her and ordering her to go fetch coffee, reminds Cleo of her position in the family, that she is just a servant and stuff like that. So that is my opinion on class issue. On political problems, I definitely think that this film raised awareness on previous historical events that have occurred. I definitely learned a lot about the Corpus Christi massacre, and I think that it also taught people about historical events like this that need to be talked about in order to be prevented in the future. So I definitely took a lot from this film. So the issues that were highlighted in the film today, comparing them to present day, there is more violence in Mexico. For example, homicide rates have reached an astounding rate. There has been 25 people have been killed per 100,000, and on top of that, 150,000 people have been killed due to the drug war related crimes. And even on top of that, there has been a kidnapping of 43 students in Mexico. So violence has only escalated ever since the 1971 massacre. So on top of that, there has been a continuing social and racial divide. Indigenous servant women are not always treated well. So what that means is that oftentimes these women are sexually harassed, or just treated horrible in the working conditions. And racism is also still around. Racism and behaviors underscoring inequality, they continue to exist, and indigenous people must advocate for their rights, and they must protest in order to increase awareness on the racial issues that pertain to their population. An example of an uprising that has emerged because of the racial issues is the Zapatista rebellion, in which a lot of indigenous people, they came out and they were like, hey, I have rights as well. So because of all of these reasons, it is evident to tell how society has only decreased, and they have not been improving ever since. There are also some very positive effects that this movie has had in society as a whole. For example, in December, a couple months after the movie's release, there was a Supreme Court decision in Mexico in which the Supreme Court ruled that all the 2 million people that worked in domestic households would be granted Social Security. So because of this, this rule alone alleviated oppression and poverty faced by some indigenous people that were working as in domestic homes. On top of that, Yalitza Aparicio adds diversity in actors. Yalitza Aparicio plays Cleo in the film, and her indigenous background adds more diversity in the cinematography life. And finally, she also serves as a role model to women. She scored a cover for Vogue magazine. So this is a huge milestone for women of indigenous descent. And in this way, Aparicio shows women that they too although they are minorities, that they too can be successful and they too can obtain such roles like this. So she is an inspiration for young women of minority backgrounds and stuff like that. So definitely this movie has had a very powerful impact on young women and young in minority groups in Mexico and also in the United States. And finally, here are my references for all of the images that I used throughout my slideshow. I enjoyed a lot putting this project together and learning all about the different types of issues occurring in Mexico during the 1970s. Thank you so much.